in retrospect, I've actually been really fortunate enough to have a bunch of monster curveballs in my life that initially seemed very scary and quite daunting, but over time actually turned into amazing positives. And they introduced the whole idea of possibility, of taking a negative and turning it not only into a positive, but something that actually furthered my life in an amazing way. For me, probably the big example of believing in the what-ifs started in the winter of 2006 in December. I remember I hadn't been feeling that well, and long story short, I went to the doctor because suddenly I was feeling weird tingling in my hands. I was having this incredible fatigue, and I ended up starting to have a major delay on my left side. So I was walking kind of like a caveman, which was very scary. And I got a phone call 3 days before Christmas, and a neurologist called me and said, you have a huge lesion on your C4 vertebrae, which is probably the cause for the reason why you're not walking properly. And if you don't go to the hospital, you could be paralyzed. I think you have MS. I did go to the hospital, and I remember sitting there by myself in a daze, kind of trying to let it hit me that I had had this new diagnosis and being very aware that my life was about to change. And the next morning, a good friend of mine came to visit, and he asked how I was doing, and we started talking. And in that moment, I kind of looked at him and I said, you know, maybe this will be the best thing that ever happened to me. And he thought I was crazy and in denial and not dealing with what was going on at all. But what was amazing is that ultimately it was one of the best things that ever happened to me.